Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you on behalf of Andrea Sloan's family to this beautiful space on this amazing afternoon to celebrate her beautiful and amazing life. My name is Dee Sextine, and I'm honored to be Andrea's friend and your master of ceremonies this afternoon. You saw where they moved that screen out of the way so that you could have the beautiful view of the countryside behind us, but you're going to have to look at me on and off during the entire service. I apologize in advance for that. Before we begin, I want to make just one very important announcement. There will be a part of our ceremony this afternoon that will involve lighted candles. Our wonderful hosts here at Camp Lucy have been generous enough to allow us to do this, but they ask that we be careful not to drop wax on the floor, on the seats you're sitting on, or on each other. Also, I'm told that the fire marshal out here has respectfully requested that you not set yourself or anyone else on fire. With those important business things out of the way, I would like to call upon Alan Blakemore, a very close friend of Andrea's, who spent countless hours with her during the last months of her life to invoke the Spirit on this occasion.
We'll see if this microphone's working. From Psalms, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be always acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. From where I stand, I see a room filled with the most blessed people on the planet. Blessed to have known, blessed to have been touched by Andrea Sloan. Some of you chose Andrea. Some of you were chosen by Andrea. Regardless of whether you found her or she found you, we were blessed by her presence in our life. I loved Andrea, and Andrea loved me. Each of us here today loved Andrea. That is something we all share in common. And while we can say, she loved me, I know that there is nothing, absolutely nothing common about the love we received from Andrea. She gave each of us a special love, a love reserved only for you or for me, for each of us one by one individually. She loved the whole world, but she gave that love freely and abundantly to us one by one. She made certain that each of us felt that love, that we knew that we were loved individually. I must say that I'm very envious of you here today. I'm going to guess that each of you knew Andrea better and longer than I did. Like many of you, I was introduced to Andrea by the great connector, Michelle Wittenberg. And I greatly regret the fact that we spent many years as mere acquaintances. Sadly, I barely knew Andrea in life. I only truly came to know her in death. I don't know why God called me to Andrea's bedside. As her trips to MD Anderson became more frequently, we spent more time together. We talked, prayed, shared stories, hopes and fears. We shared our love of Christ. While you got to share the good times of her life, I got to share the end times. I praise God, I thank God for that special and unique opportunity. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Throughout her life of touching people with a tender heart and God's amazing grace, she invested her time to enrich the lives of others. And when her time on this earth was short, she took time to make one more friend, and that friend was me. To Karen and John, thank you for sharing your special creation with all of us. She was a gift from God who has returned to be with her Heavenly Father. Andrea knew Jesus, and Jesus knew her. She reflected the light of Christ and shared his love with all of us. Now I'd like to read from the 23rd Psalm. I read it now because I find it comforting. I hope you do as well. The words give me hope and inspiration when I face difficult times. The words are familiar if you would like to speak them along with me now. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of the righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. As all of you know, Andrea Sloan lived her life with joy and relentless abandon. We are fortunate that she also loved to share her life's journey and the insights she gleaned from it through the written word. For years, she maintained a blog, and on Facebook, she became famous for her daily meditations that always managed to combine a very honest appraisal of her own life with her gleefully optimistic appreciation of all her blessings. Her friends have compiled her thoughts, quotes, and other writings into a book of Andrea, and we will share some excerpts from that with you this afternoon. To start us off, let me call up three of her dear friends, Blake Hodgkins, Tammy Shelton Stewart, and Chris Degier.
I may break this. My name is Blair Hodgkins. I met Andrea in 2003 when each of us was serving on the Austin Area HIV Planning Council. We complimented each other because she was very smart and good with people, and I'm good with numbers, and it worked. We formed a fast friendship and continued our collaboration in the interests of justice. She became executive director of Texas Advocacy Project and asked me to join the board, which I did, and I served on that board for 6 years, supporting her in her work. Like many of you, I looked forward to reading her Facebook posts, so I will read 4 of them now. Today, the only voice I will quiet is the one that tells me I am afraid. Otherwise, I will shout my joy at extra volume so that the universe cannot ignore my happiness and will have no choice but to shower me with more of it. Note to self. You can choose to lead with your tragedy or your triumphs. It really just depends on what you would rather wake up to each morning. You know that feeling when it just feels like you are squeezing every single drop of good stuff out of life? If not, today is the best day to figure it out. Have a great day, friends. Don't waste a minute of it. And this last one, I think she will get her wish. When I'm gone, I hope it will be written in the stars about me. Life tried to tame her but couldn't. Now go out and earn it. Carpe diem on this beautiful day, friends.
Hi, I'm short, like my sweet friend. I'm Tammy Shelton Stewart. I laughed. When the email came out that said we needed to explain how we met Andrea and our relationship, I knew she started laughing in heaven immediately because we have 2 stories. One we tell certain people and others we tell to other people. So, the one that we tell most people is that we met in college when we were about 20. The other story is that our boyfriends were in the same heavy metal band when we were about 20. So I knew she was laughing somewhere. Day 21. The presence of such amazing friendship in my life can be nothing other than a cosmic sign that the universe knows I am here and is pleased. Waking up feeling the love again. I hope you are too. Day 22. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let me rejoice and squeeze every single ounce of joy out of it that I can. Waking up so happy that I could burst. No particular reason. Just blessed by a day where everything seems right with the world. Day 26. Commitment to me on this beautiful day that is mine to command for 1 week. I will listen more intently, laugh more quickly, worry less passionately, and learn more intentionally. After that, I'm on a mental vacation for 2 weeks. Last reading. Day 33. Note to self. Sometimes there's nothing left to do but let go and wait to be showered with the universe's surprises. Oh yeah, and while you're waiting, don't forget to figure out what it is that you really want. If you don't know, how can the planets make it happen for you?
Thank you, sir.
Hello. I'm a little bit taller. My name is Chris Deeger, and music truly flowed through our beloved Andrea's heart. In fact, it helped form the bond of our amazing friendship some 24 years ago. I am profoundly grateful for her influence in my life and honored to celebrate her life with you today. Now I will continue to read from the book of Andrea. Day 6. Some say good things come to those who wait. But I know the best things come to those who go out and find them. The universe does, after all, like a good game of hide and seek. Day 61. And when God whispered his plan to the universe for me, he must have said, give her just enough fire that she will not grow lazy in her faith, and light her path with just enough stars that she can always see to dance. Waking up thankful for trials enough to remind me why we are here, and joy enough that there is always a reason to laugh. Day 73. When we all come together to help when someone needs it the most, the universe binds our energy together as one in pursuit of that purpose. This, I believe, is how love ultimately conquers evil, and at the same time may be the reason that evil must exist at all, to serve as sort of a battle cry to goodness that gets this whole beautiful process in motion. Day 123. For my friends facing challenges, sometimes when it feels like the sky is falling, it's really the universe showering blessings that just aren't recognizable yet. Time to dance in the rain.
Thank you very much, Blair, Tammy, Chris. The Compton family has been part of the Sloan's lives for so long, it's too many years to count. And they are about as close as you can get to actual Sloan family here tonight. Here to speak on behalf of the family is Tom Compton.
Thank you. Howdy, folks. I'm Tom Compton. I'm here today along with my wife Penny and our daughter Leanne, to help celebrate Andrea Sloan. Our son Ted wanted to be here, but he's hosting an event to help save the ranches and open lands in Colorado, a project I know Andrea would endorse heartily. The Sloan family, I'm sure, wants you to know they very, very much appreciate all that you have done, the efforts you have made to come out today to celebrate. In fact, I would say what a testament it is that each of you are here today because Andrea Sloan touched your life. Our family had the great good pleasure and good fortune of meeting the Sloans some 40-odd years ago at the University of Wyoming. We have been greatly, greatly blessed by the relationship that we have had with John and Karen, with Ashley, and with Andrea. Our children, Ted and Leanne, are about the same ages as Ashley and Andrea. Andy was about 3 or 4 years old the first time we met her. That bright-eyed, twinkle in her eye, full of so much enthusiasm, couldn't help but spill out to everybody around her. Even at that early age, Andy liked to test the limits a little bit. She wasn't quite satisfied with riding the tricycle on the sidewalk in front of the house. She wanted to take a ride all the way around the block, and she didn't need any supervision, much to the chagrin of her mother. When Andy was about 10, the Sloans came to help us in Colorado with a science camp for college students. Andy, Ashley, Ted, and Leanne only had 2 rules. Rule number 1, they had 160 fenced acres to play in, but they should never cross the fence. Rule number 2, had to be in the lodge before dark. Simple enough. One occasion I remember, Ted and Andy decided to take Speedy, that was their little Honda 50 motorcycle, for a short spin just outside the fence. Okay, granted, they didn't go over the fence. They went through a gate. But it was outside the fence. Well, sure enough, they got Speedy stuck in a ball. They made it back to the lodge before dark, but they were covered in mud. Good news was there was still enough water in the outdoor solar shower for them to clean up. Bad news was, after the sun goes down, water in the solar shower may not be too warm. But Andy was tough even then. When they weren't riding Speedy, they were riding Stormy, their little pony. Speedy, Stormy. Just the names reveal a lot about the spirit and passion of that young lady. Leanne, who was often Andy's bunkmate at camp, remembers waking up one night to Andy's making motorcycle sounds in her sleep, grasping her pillow as though it were the handlebars of a motorcycle. The next time I saw Andy on a motorcycle, many years later, she and a boyfriend came riding up to the same camp on a Harley. That's kind of a Speedy on steroids. They were covered in mud. I'm thinking, have we been here before? It seemed it had rained on them while they rode up the dirt road to camp. Just parenthetically, I'm not sure how that relationship worked out because the boyfriend seemed to be more concerned about the mud than the adventurous spirit that Andrea had. I'm sure that all of you here who have known and loved Andrea in her more adult years know that those stories are true, because she never, ever lost her spirit and passion for life. In fact, I'd bet a silver dollar that a large number of you, through Andy's urging and encouragement, got to stretch your limits a little bit. Spirit and passion are words I like to use to remember Andy. Whether riding a tricycle, a little motorcycle, a big Harley hog, or a horse, she rode through life with great passion and spirit. I will always be grateful to Andy for passing along those traits to Ted and Leanne. Another word I use to remember Andy is compassionate, as demonstrated by her consistent willingness to rescue a dog that needed a friend. Of course, she was also had great compassion for humans who needed just a little help, as exemplified by her chosen career. She was devoted to assisting those less fortunate folks who had not gotten a fair shake in life, and always was willing to stand up to power in order to help others. She knew her quest for compassionate care would benefit many, many others who rode down the same trail that she rode. The Bible in chapter 25 quotes Jesus as saying, "I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you took me in." Jesus' followers responded, "When did we ever feed you? When did we ever give you a drink? When did we take you in?" Jesus answered, "Inasmuch as you gave to the least of these, my brothers, you gave it unto me." Doesn't that fit Andrea Sloan to a T? The final word I use to remember Andrea is grit. She possessed true grit. From those early years in Wyoming and Colorado to the last time I sat with her last Thanksgiving, she demonstrated grit. Now, I know Andy was not a huge fan of John Wayne, but I cannot help but visualize her astride her horse, Heathen, with the reins in her teeth, galloping full scale toward the bad guys in an effort to defeat evil. I used to sing an old cowboy song to Andy and the kids when we went riding, or any time else they would listen. The first time I saw a picture of Andy astride her horse, Heathen, I thought of that song, The Strawberry Roan. When I think of Andrea's attitude toward facing every challenge in life, whether it's riding a bicycle all the way around the block or doing battle with that evil cancer, I remember a slightly altered verse from that song. Don't worry, Ashley, I will not sing it. She gets all head up and she asks what he pays to ride that old nag for a couple of days. He offers her 10 and she says, "I'm your dame. Bronc never lived that I could not tame." He says, "Get your gear. I'll give you a chance." She hops in the buckboard, goes out to the ranch. The very next morning, right after Chuck, she goes out to see if that outlaw can buck. Down in the horse corral, now standing alone, is that old caballo, a strawberry roan. Andrea, good ride, cowgirl. Good ride. We love you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now to share additional readings from the Book of Andrea, I'd like to introduce two of her longtime friends, Mary Smith and the Honorable former State Representative Jim McReynolds.
Hi, I'm Mary Smith. I met Andrea in 1982 at ninth grade. Our friendship was formed because we were both relatively confident. I'm sure our parents instilled that in us, that we were both smarter than our ninth grade English teacher. And so a friendship was forever born. And I have had the pleasure for over 30 years of calling her my friend and her family my second family. I am truly blessed. From the book of Andrea. You may know that as cancer reoccurred, there was always the question of what type of treatment would happen. We usually liked the one that left our hair. So to that end, today I am thankful for a legitimate ponytail and all of those who have been there with me while I've been growing it. God is good, I am blessed. This, she wrote, is her second post on Thanksgiving Eve last year because one post on Thanksgiving Eve just wasn't enough. And while most of us celebrate Wednesdays with a picture of a camel and talking about hump day, our vibrant friend, that was too mundane for her. So, good morning, beautiful Wednesday. What have you got for me? I have the magic markers out and I'm ready to leave broad, brightly colored tracks everywhere I go. Please open my eyes to the possibility hidden in the small things. Most of all, help me do one thing that really matters in a big way to someone else today. Happy Wednesday, peeps. Seize the joy. And because we all know that sweet Andrea never shied from the difficult questions, John Sloan knows that better than most anyone. Dear Lord, why such a bumpy path sometimes? My arms are growing tired from clenching the sides of the roller coaster, waiting for the next dip, and I am getting a headache from clenching my eyes so tightly shut. Then you are not doing it right, my child. Throw your hands in the air, eyes wide open, enjoy the ride. The excitement comes from every single rise and fall. It just takes a little courage to appreciate it. Happy Saturday, everyone. And finally, once in a great while, you get to have a day during which you feel so loved that no matter what the universe throws at you, you just can't help but succeed. I woke up today feeling blessed beyond measure and loved more than anyone deserves to be loved. I wish each of you a day like this soon. Thank you, dear friends, for making even this most challenging part of my life worth every minute. Love to you all.
I feel so honored to be here today with you and all of the wonderful friends of Andrea. I was doubly blessed to have Andrea as my chief of staff when I was but a freshman in the Texas House of Representatives. Karen, in a recent phone conversation, said, you know, Jim, she lived in the fast lane. And John, you know, she was designed to drive a Ferrari. But I was but a Model T. She was so far ahead of me in everything. But I'll tell you what, it didn't take long for our spirits to meet. Great daughter, wonderful friend. Day 7. Dear Lord, let me live each day so that when I'm gone it can be said she was a woman of determined faith, happily resigned to fate, who drank joy for breakfast as if it were coffee. Day 95. As I've known nothing but hope, I've been right 100% of the time. Day 47. Waking up thankful that from the tiniest seed of faith, I can grow an orchard of hope and spend my days swinging from the branches of all the good that is to come. And finally, day 16. Dear Lord, don't let the circumstances tame my heart. Let the first words out of my mouth each day be, what's next? Remind me that the price of an unforgettable life is the courage to live one. Thank you, Andrea.
Mary and Jim, thank you very much. Now I would like to call upon someone who's very special to me, and I suspect to most of us in this room. I first met Andrea Sloan through Michelle Wittenberg, and I suspect that many of you did as well. They were friends, colleagues, partners in crime. Anyone who saw them together has no trouble believing in the limitless power of fusion energy. Michelle and Andrea were our bestest friends foreverest, and because they're both amazing human beings. Michelle Wittenberg.
I'm the shortest. Okay, period. The first thing I want to do is to thank Andrea Sloan for giving me a police escort out here tonight. I've never had a police escort like that before. I've had the other variety, so I was really happy to have a legitimate police escort for the first time ever in my life. Thank you, Andrea. That was her little joke on me today, I think. Sorry, Mom. Okay, so I woke up this morning to 2 notes from 2 different friends, and they both just spoke to me incredibly. And the first one said, waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at all beings with eyes of compassion. The next one said, you see all the things that say keep calm and carry on. This one said, don't keep calm, change the world. And then I popped in the CDs that are in the back of the room for you guys to all take one. Bandria's, that's a takeoff on Andrea. Bandera and Andrea, her favorite place. Bandria's greatest hits. I popped it in this morning to get a little inspiration, and what comes on but I think one of the most horrid of songs, but one of her favorites by Luke Bryan, Country Girl, Shake It For Me. So these 2 quotes and that song do a pretty good job of summing up the complex parts of Andrea's amazing character. She is truly our amazing little oxymoron in so many ways. Some of you have known Andrea for a lifetime, and some just a few months. Regardless, and if you've read what other people call an obituary, but what we call the life and times of the amazing Andrea Sloan, penned by our dear friend Christine Garrison Rodriguez, you know that she loved all animals. You know that she was a committed vegetarian. You know that she was a huge foodie, and you know that music, 80s hair bands, John Bon Jovi, and again, Luke Bryan, were at the top of her list. You know that she was a passionate and effective advocate for the greater good for anyone that she represented or that she believed in. But she always was an advocate in a restrained and respectful manner, because at her heart, Andrea Sloan is a very gentle soul. I want to share with you a side of Andrea that is equally as compelling and as awesome and as endearing, but she's a quirky character. Tom Compton, you sort of made reference to that, and I think that her parents will agree that saying she's a quirky character might be putting it mildly. Her favorite TV shows, in case you didn't know, she religiously DVR'd Lock Up, about life in prison, Deadliest Catch, Hoarders, and Storage Wars. She loved Lock Up so much because it fed her dream of someday going to the Angola Prison Rodeo. So we did make a trip with Michelle Pollack to the Angola Prison Rodeo, and it was Andrea in a prison, totally in her element. She liked being able to leave, I'll say that, but she was conducting her social justice and social orchestration by going to a younger inmate and getting to know him and saying, I need you to take care of this older inmate that I found and I have befriended. And here's the deal. I'm giving you both my home address because we need to keep checking in because I got to make sure that you're going to do what we've been talking about. Yeah. So I said, you're giving them your home address. Oh, Michelle, they're harmless. They're harmless. That's how that weekend went. That's not a joke, unfortunately. So you all know that she favored black nails, and I've seen a whole lot of black nails in this audience, which is awesome. And I've seen a lot of skull and crossbones, which she also favored heavily. And y'all know that she owned a Harley Davidson, and she rode that thing, all 5 foot 2 inches of her. And so you might think that her love of black nails and of skulls had to do with that culture, and had nothing to do with that whatsoever. What it did have to do with, and I know, much to the chagrin of her parents, and I'm sure, Ashley, where are you, that Anne Marie, you were on that Harley by the time you were 6 months old, because we have the pictures to prove it. But what it really had to do with was Andrea's way of communicating, again, in Andrea-style, restrained fashion, that cancer, what we called the OC, should watch out for her, because she was a particularly harsh type of poison that cancer had never seen. And she was right, as we all know. This one I get a kick out of. So she was deathly afraid, phobic, of needles. Her friend Michelle could go and get Botoxed, and I took her with me one time and showed her how it was done. She looked away the entire time, but she so badly wanted to do it, because as we get older, it's something that we women do. She really wanted to do it, but she just couldn't get herself there. So she gets out of a surgery one day at MD Anderson, and her surgeons communicated with her parents and I, and it was so fun telling her, because we like to taunt each other, that when she woke up, I said, "Hey, you got Botox." And she's like, "I did?" And I said, "Yes, but on the inside," because they had Botoxed a valve to keep it open. And I said, "You got it on the inside." And her comment was, "Damn the luck." You all know that she wrote the most absolutely beautiful, you have heard some of them today already, beautiful and eloquent words on Facebook and in her blog. And they did inspire the creation of an army, no less. And they inspired the devotion of people from my very young niece to my less young mother, and everyone in between. And those are what we collectively call the Book of Andrea. But what I want to share with you are some of her other writings that you might be unaware of. She wrote songs, and we are hoping that we can have some of her songs. Luke Bryan may sing them. I'm hoping for the Bellamy Brothers. But anyway, I want to read to you some songs, or some lyrics from a song that she wrote called Beertopia. And what's really funny about Beertopia is that Andrea is what we call a fake drinker. Andrea didn't drink. She threw drinks over her back. She would get in, when somebody got a shot, she got a shot of water instead of a shot of tequila, but she did the lick it, suck it, slam it. She was a fake drinker. She didn't drink. So it's kind of funny that she writes about these things that she really doesn't have any interest in whatsoever. But here's a few of the super fun lyrics from Beertopia. I know you're proud, Karen and John. So here we go. Come 5 o'clock on Friday, there's a place we all go to party. You walk in with near perfect vision, hoping it won't last long. The girls there aren't all that pretty, cheap lipstick and cherry cologne. A couple of beers will sure change that. They look better as the night wears on. Here's the chorus. Things are a blur in Beertopia, 'cause we've all got our beer goggles on. They're pouring good looks from a bottle. Grab a shot, get your drink on. Little tank tops on a bar stool, tight jeans strutting their stuff. Yep, they know what they're doing, getting them all riled up. Come morning light, we'll all be paying. Need some hair of the dog. But for tonight, we're feeling all right. We've all got our beer goggles on. Here's how it works in Beertopia. Second verse of the same song. By the end of my shiner, she's looking finer. Grab a shot, get your drink on. From a 6 to a 10 and a bottle of gin, grab a shot, get your drink on. Pour me a Mai Tai, an angel just walked by. Grab a shot, get your drink on. Hand me a bud, I think I'm in love. Grab a shot, get your drink on. One more round of whiskey, we'll be getting frisky. Grab a shot, get your drink on. Yeah, that's how it works in Beertopia. They're all perfect 10s in Beertopia. Grab a shot, get your drink on. Which she would never do a single thing in any of this song whatsoever. It's just kind of funny. Okay, but in case that's an aberration and it was a once in a lifetime thing that she thought she would try her hand at writing a different style, I just want to go ahead and crush that whole idea that you have. And I want to share some excerpts from a book that she was writing and that we still hope will get published along with Beertopia has sung. But The book, no less, and Andrea, you know, is a very serious lawyer, but the book was a dating guide for women. And it was called Royal Crush, a strategic girl's guide to using poker principles to make any man fold. Now, the really funny thing, you're laughing now, but the really funny thing is she knew nothing about poker and nothing about gambling. Nothing, okay? But why let that stop you? Okay, so listen to this. I'm going to read a little bit of it to you because there are so many Andrea-isms in here. Okay, chapter 1, called Anyone Can Win at the Game of Love. Any girl can win at the game of love if she is willing to be patient and play the odds, because the odds are always with the house. Dealers in Vegas win because, number 1, they have a system that they methodically follow. Number 2, they play slow and steady. And number 3, they know how to take calculated risks. Chapter 2, defining the stakes. Taking care of the physical plant, that's what we call our bodies, and managing your personal brand. 90-day plan of diet and exercise that gets you ready for the big game. Be informed about the world around you. Read online blogs on topics of interest, etc. Develop hobbies, ladies. Presentation is everything. Take care of yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. Chapter 3, you can't win if you don't play. Unless you want to date your postman, Mr. Right is probably not going to walk up and knock on your door. You have to get out there in a variety of venues. You need to be fishing off of a lot of piers. Online dating, speed dating, developing your friend network, going places that men go, sporting events, national parks, which she loved, that was her choice, fishing trips, etc. And then she makes a note, commentary on the dangers of dating in the workplace. Chapter 4, practice, practice, practice. No good poker player starts out winning. It takes lots of time and practice to master the art of the game. Same is true in dating. This chapter includes a list of fun things to do on a first date, and in parentheses she writes, fluff, fluff, fluff. Chapter 5, knowing when to throw in. All savvy girls understand that they are, and I bet a lot of you girls in here have heard this from Andrea, all savvy girls understand that they are the prize. And they have followed the tips in chapter 2 to be ready to find love. The mistake too many women make is settling. Here's an Andrea-ism for you. But that is loser talk. Deal breakers, married, unable to commit, player. Core values are very important. The mistake beginning poker players make is that they are so anxious to play that they don't sit out hands that start out weak. Need to wait until you feel like you have 2 aces in the hole. Only then do you play the game with any real money. And then in parentheses, remember this is all about poker and gambling. In parentheses she writes, because it's an afterthought, I need to brush up on poker terms and strategy for this part. Let's go to chapter 7. Sometimes you have, chapter 10, sometimes you have to bluff. Anybody who says there isn't a certain amount of gamesmanship in dating is lying, or they're just not good at it. Good poker players know how to read cards and faces. Assess the situation with one goal in mind. When it is early, you have to continue to feed your man's competitive nature by being selectively unavailable. Make him work for it. Or give him some healthy competition. And then in parentheses, her parentheticals are my favorite. She writes, this is the anti-feminist section of the book, but people will really like it. And then we go to the epilogue. And this is where we return to the other side of Andrea's brain. And remember that she is an attorney who crusades for indigent women in domestic violence situations, okay? Put that in the back of your mind. This is her epilogue after everything that you've heard that's pretty tongue-in-cheek and really not so much really Andrea. She writes, epilogue, love shouldn't hurt, a chapter about domestic violence, because every book, no matter how silly, should have a social conscience. She always knew how to combine these things wonderfully. One more of her writings that I do have to acknowledge. Find it. But I have to give you a little bit of background, which may make you call into question Andrea's commitment and a couple of others of us in this room, our commitment to hygiene. But Michelle Pollock and I and Andrea spent as much time as we possibly could on the ranch with the horses. Because Andrea would say, I cannot worry. It is impossible to worry if I'm with Heathen or I'm on his back. Can't worry. Pure bliss for us. We did ultimately know. Probably took us a while. But we became a little bit feral when we would go out to the ranch. We spent the weekends there, and we would get there and play all day and start early, play all day, get in late, and you're exhausted. So, you just went to sleep that way. Makeup and everything. And we did that all weekend long without ever having any care about it, to be honest. And it became so habitual that at Pollock's last birthday, her cups and cake had a theme called Mitchie's Feral 40th, complete with a picture of a feral hog. That was Andrea's idea, by the way. I didn't do that to you. But the truth was, the feralness was the three of us, and we loved it. We learned to clean up when we went into the city, and that's fine. But we enjoyed that immensely and immeasurably. So our last blog entry that has to do with this is called Changing the World in Yesterday's Makeup. And this is from September 24th of 2013. I've decided that the title of my memoir will be Changing the World in Yesterday's Makeup. Nothing profound here. It just so exemplifies the status of my life these days. So much to do and so little time. Never enough time to spend with my sister and my precious niece and nephews. Never enough time on my horse. Never enough time to say the thousands of thank yous that need to be said in a personal and meaningful way. The thing about living with the OC, and especially in the last month, is I've had to wake up every morning and really confront the reality that for each one of us, our days are numbered, is that life both speeds up and it slows down. On the one hand, there's still so much to do. Life is frenetic. Every hour spent sleeping is an hour not spent having one last chance to do one amazing thing. If nothing else, the last 7 years have given me the most amazing appreciation for the beauty of every single moment. That is a priceless gift that I would not trade. Having said that, I often ask God if there isn't an easier way to that realization. Why does it take such a keen awareness of running out of time to make you value it so much? And yet, as my life is racing ahead and I'm frantically cramming experience after experience into it, things are also slowing down. I am making peace. And that, as odd as it sounds, is an eerie feeling. There's almost a resignation to it that my head is finding hard to accept. Saying I love you, saying goodbyes, prioritizing what I want to see one last time. There is a beauty in it because it is so intentional and so deliberate. What a blessing to be able to truly say, I've righted my wrongs, I've faced my fears, I've let those who matter know that they matter. But it also sort of takes the mystery out of wondering what comes next. In my heart, I've still got a cabin in Alaska, Colorado, calling my name for a year or two. I'm still waiting to get picked to work at McMurdo Bay in Antarctica. My soulmate is still out there, and we still need to join the Peace Corps and learn to speak Spanish. But then there is so much to leave behind and so little chance to wake up surrounded by the ones I love, in the town I love, doing work for the people I love. These, my friends, are the questions we should all be asking if we started living as if our days were numbered. And so for now, I won't slow down long enough to wash my face before my head hits the pillow each night. That is one thing I can control. I can decide to forego skincare for 10 more minutes of soaking it all in. I think it's an awesome trade. Just please don't tell my dermatologist. By Andrea. Okay, back to a little different note. And I've quarreled with myself. I couldn't write these comments until today because I couldn't collect my thoughts. I wanted to figure out what to share and how to espouse this part to do her justice. So just muddle through this with me. We all know that it was impossible to resist the effervescent personality of Andrea Sloan. She truly was infectious. Every person in this room has been touched by her in a multitude of ways and to such intense degrees. Her reach was long and far, and the breadth of her influence was just as deep. I think that we all believed, I did, that she was superhuman. So much so that our friend Aurora bought her a pink satin cape with an emblazoned S on the back for Superwoman. And she loved that cape. Andrea was a self-defined type A introvert, which surprises a lot of people given that she was so much in the public eye worldwide, especially in the last year. Her superhuman status only escalated. What I want to share, and what I think, more importantly, what I think she would want me to share, is a little background. Andrea told me that the first year of her cancer battle was the hardest, and I think that's understandable. She was scared, and she didn't have any idea what her future would hold, but she worried more about the effect on her family. It's normal. But she made, mark these words, a deliberate choice not to crumble, not to cave. She fought, but she didn't just fight the cancer. She had to fight an internal battle every morning from the first day that she was diagnosed, I'm pretty sure until the last, to get out of bed and put 2 feet on the floor and to move forward. A 7.5-year battle. And this is where her blogging and writing really began to take off in the way that all of us know. She told me that I asked her where her writings came from, and she said, I refuse to leave my house in the morning until I have eked out some type of, again, keyword here, intentional positivity that minimized what she called her head trash and her fear and anxiety. She would replace that with a joyful perspective, and that's what we all saw. And that was legitimate, and that was real. She said it took about a year for this to become a habit. And that's when she realized that this was her cancer blessing. This is what cancer gave to her. She learned what was really at the core of herself and what she believed could be and should be at the core of each one of us. She had to cultivate this habit. It wasn't easy. It was work. Intentional positivity for the entire 7.5 years took extreme effort in light of the pressures and the weight of the world that she felt sometimes were on her shoulders. It did not come naturally. She was indeed not Superwoman. She was a mere human, forced with her own mortality and way too early of an age. And I hope that no one here, especially her family, thinks that I'm speaking of her in a way that is not honoring her, but in fact, I really believe it's the opposite. She is not a deity, but instead a mere mortal whose accomplishments make that even so much more spectacular. I don't think that anyone can argue that anyone has done a more brilliant job of turning lemons into lemonade. She provided the examples and the lesson and the groundwork for all of us to cultivate our own brand of intentional positivity. Even when we feel down and out and like it must have been easier for Andrea in some way because she was special and Superwoman, that's not so. She was special, but she wasn't Superwoman. And because she wanted the best for every single person in this room, she struggled until her own intentional positivity reached so many of us that she was certain we'd learned the lesson and we learned how to employ intentional positivity in our own daily lives and then transmit it to just as many others. To not do so, I believe, would dishonor our friendships with her and her memory, And so I do ask that on behalf of Andrea, that each and every one of us make a commitment to awake each day and to engage in intentional positivity in our own way that will make our hero, not our superhero, but our hero, proud. I have to go back to writing for a moment. One of the main things that she wrote and spoke about, and you all know this, was her family. And I want to share a couple of her Facebook posts. The first one is, note to self, don't ever abandon the dream. And my dad rocks for always helping me remember this. Second one, today I am thankful for Carrot, AKA my mom. She is the strongest, coolest woman I know, and the best trench mate I could ever have. I am truly blessed. And third, in her July 25th, 2013 blog, it read in part, I'll do my best to update semi-frequently, but those of you who know me know that it takes a lot of time to live the rock star fabulous life that I now allow myself to live. I'll do my best, but there are just going to be times when I'm having justice for breakfast, or riding bareback on the best horse on the planet, or hanging with the 3 coolest kids on the planet. Anne-Marie Pike and Price, her niece and nephews. Karen and John and all of the Sloan family, from the bottom of our heart and everyone in this room, thank you for sharing your daughter and your sister and your aunt with all of us so willingly. We are all the better for it, and we are all eternally in your debt. Some additional thank yous that have to be said. Andrea's fellow warrior and oncologist, Dr. Charles Levenbach, couldn't be here today because he is out saving more Andrea Sloans. Not exactly like her, because we know there aren't any other ones. But we do think that Dr. Levenbach is absolutely number one in our books. To Camp Lucy, our hosts for this evening, absolutely none of this would have been possible without Camp Lucy. And so we thank all of them repeatedly. To all of the participants named in the program and all of you who have read thus far and those to come, you have all decorated Andrea's life in meaningful ways, and you were chosen for that purpose, and you know that she is so grateful that you have honored her in this way. To by right hands and planning and executing this memorial in the way that Andrea wanted it, Christine Garrison, Lindsay Gustafson, Kelly Heighton and Maya Ingram, and so many others, but thank you very, very much. To the elected officials who went to the mat for Andrea in 2013, many of them, but primarily State Reps Eddie Rodriguez, Jose Menendez, Kyle Cassell, Ken King, and Congressman Pete Sessions, John Culberson, Mike McCall and his wife Linda, many, many thanks. To Dr. Mickey LeMater and his pistol of a wife, Andy, you made some things happen for Andrea's care that no one else could have, and she found true allies in patient care, and we love you for that. To Nancy Winship and Debbie Smith for starting Andy's Army several years ago as a way to show her support, thank you. The Facebook page cheered her on, and it became a vehicle for compassionate use reform exactly when we needed it because we were in a time crunch. Thank you to Carol Carter, who couldn't be here tonight, for starting Andrea's Change.org petition that garnered over 200,000 signatures in a very brief amount of time, and that ensured that no one could ignore the debate on compassionate use reform, which is still ongoing. To Shannon Wolfson and Thomas Costley at KXAN for so diligently and painstakingly and truthfully and lovingly following and covering Andrea's story and to helping it because they helped us get the word out. Gratitude to the Texas Advocacy Project, Andrea's longtime employer throughout this entire battle with the OC, and its board members who supported her so beautifully. And again, to Karen and John Sloan, and to all of the family for sharing her, and to Heathen for bringing her such incredible delight. In closing, I want to give you all what I call the Sloan pep talk. Some of you have heard it, I'm sure. Because while I know that we all think this is our send-off to her, it isn't. Or it is. It is more. It is her send-off to all of us, per her request. Her goal was for each one of us, but especially this front row, to leave with a lighter heart and a lighter spirit and a commitment to doing a little better every day. Andrea did not believe in leading with her tragedy. She certainly did not lead that way, did not live that way. And you all know that she would not abide by any of us leading with our tragedy, the tragedy that is here before us today. Make no mistake, losing Andrea is tragedy. But we must all learn by actively applying her example, 2 feet on the floor, and exuding positivity into the universe, all before 8 a.m. To encapsulate that, here's how that goes. You can hear your daughter right here. No loser talk. We all have to put it to the universe. Giddy up. That's it. Thank you all very much.